Henry Harrington's body crumpled to the floor, blood seeping from his nose as his wife, Dr. Mercy Joe-Harrington, rushed to save him. When his eyes finally opened, they held no warmth, no recognition. "Who are you?" he whispered to the woman he'd promised forever to just 5 years ago. In that moment, Mercy became a stranger in her husband's eyes. The man who once wrote, "Your curves are the geography of my happiness," now looked at her with cold confusion. Would his heart remember what his mind had forgotten? Welcome back to Zenith Inspiring Stories. Have you ever felt a connection so profound that nothing could erase it? Share your experience in the comments below and hit that subscribe button and join our community of survivors and thrivers for more heartfelt tales. The day began like any other at Pinecrest Rural Health Center. Dr. Mercy Harrington checked her schedule, unaware that by noon, her world would shatter. Henry wasn't due to visit. His agricultural empire kept him traveling between continents, transforming drought-stricken regions with revolutionary irrigation systems. But the headaches had worsened over the past month, sharp, blinding pain he dismissed as stress. "Just need to close the Ethiopia deal," he told Mercy during their last video call, rubbing his temples. She'd insisted he see a specialist. He'd promised he would, after the deal. Instead, he surprised her by showing up at her clinic. Mercy spotted him through her office window, tall, commanding in his tailored suit that couldn't hide the farmer's build beneath. Despite his billions, Henry's hands remained calloused, his skin sun-kissed. He never forgot his roots, the struggling family farm where he'd watched his parents lose everything. "Henry," Mercy called, stepping into the waiting room. "What are you doing here?" He turned, his smile faltering as pain flashed across his features. "I thought maybe my wife could squeeze me in." His voice sounded strained. "The headaches are." That's when it happened. Mid-sentence, Henry's eyes rolled back. His knees buckled. The billionaire who'd negotiated with presidents and transformed agricultural science hit the linoleum floor with a sickening thud. "Code blue!" Mercy shouted, professionalism overtaking panic as she dropped beside him. Blood trickled from his nose, his breathing shallow. "Get the crash cart." For 17 excruciating minutes, Mercy was purely a doctor, checking vitals, stabilizing, ordering tests. Not a wife watching her husband hover between consciousness and darkness. When Henry finally stirred on the examination table, Mercy nearly collapsed with relief. "Henry, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open, disoriented. They fixed on her face, searching, confused. "Where am I?" His voice was hoarse. "You're at Pinecrest Clinic. You collapsed. I'm Dr. Mercy Harrington." She squeezed his hand, waiting for recognition to dawn. Instead, he pulled his hand away. "I don't understand. Where's my wife?" Mercy's heart stopped. "Henry, I'm your wife." He studied her face, her warm brown eyes, her full cheeks, the curves she'd learned to embrace only after meeting him, and slowly shook his head. "No," he whispered. "I don't know who you are." 5 years of marriage, erased in 17 minutes. The man who'd once written her daily love notes now looked at her as if she were a stranger claiming something precious that wasn't hers to claim. "Mr. Harrington, you're experiencing a neurological event affecting your memory," Mercy explained, her professional tone masking the tremor in her voice. She'd stepped back, creating clinical distance between them. This man who'd kissed her goodbye just 3 days ago now eyeing her with suspicion. "That's impossible," Henry insisted, attempting to sit up. "I know exactly who I am. Henry Harrington, CEO of Harrington Sustainable Solutions." His eyes narrowed. "And I'm not married." The words cut deeper than any scalpel. Mercy swallowed hard, pulling up his brain scan on the tablet. "These areas showing inflammation are affecting your episodic memory, specifically, your personal recognition. So you're claiming to be my wife." Skepticism hardened his features, the same expression he used on predatory investors. "We've been married 5 years next month," Mercy said softly. "We met at a medical conference in Chicago where you were keynoting about agricultural solutions to malnutrition." Henry's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "I remember that conference. I spoke about drought-resistant crops." "And afterward, you spilled coffee on my research poster," Mercy added. You offer to fund my entire rural healthcare initiative as an apology. That doesn't sound like me. No, she agreed. It doesn't. I told you to keep your guilt money and just help me clean up the mess instead. Something shifted in his expression, not recognition, but curiosity. The neurologist Mercy had called in, Dr. Abrams, cleared his throat. Mr. Harrington, your condition appears to be a rare form of transient global amnesia with specific impact on personal recognition. The good news is these episodes are typically temporary. How temporary? Henry demanded. Hours, days, sometimes weeks, Dr. Abrams admitted. We need more tests. After signing release forms, Mercy drove Henry home. A modernized farmhouse nestled between rolling hills, their compromise between his wealth and her simplicity. The silence between them stretched like an abyss. This is where we live? Henry asked as they pulled into the driveway. Yes. You designed the sustainable systems yourself. The house runs entirely on renewable energy. Inside, Henry moved cautiously, like a man navigating a stranger's home. He stopped at the wall of photographs, their wedding day. Mercy radiant in deep blue instead of traditional white. Henry teaching at a rural school in Kenya. The two of them laughing on a hike, her curves pressed against his solid frame. That's us. His finger traced their smiling faces. Yes. He turned to her, frustration etched across his features. I don't remember any of this. I don't remember you. Mercy nodded, the pain almost physical. I know. How do I know you're telling the truth? That this isn't some elaborate scheme? She reached for her phone, pulled up their text messages. Years of conversations, inside jokes, love notes. Then she showed him his own handwriting in the anniversary card from last year. To the woman who sees me clearer than I see myself. You are the home I never knew I was searching for. Henry stared at the words, his own yet foreign to him. When he looked up, his eyes held something new, fear. What happens? He asked quietly. If I never remember you? Morning light filtered through the guest bedroom, where Henry had insisted on sleeping. Mercy found him already awake, examining a leather-bound journal from his desk drawer. I keep a business journal, he explained, not looking up. Apparently, I write about you in it too. Mercy set down a cup of coffee beside him, black with one sugar, the way he'd always taken it. May I ask what it says? Henry hesitated, then read aloud. Mercy challenged the board today about water access in the Sudan project. She was right, of course. Her compassion never compromises her intelligence. It amplifies it. He looked up. I respect you. You always have, she replied simply. There's more, he continued, turning pages. When Mercy laughs, the sound rebuilds something in me that poverty broke long ago. His voice faltered. And this. Her body carries a geography of abundance that matches her heart. I've never understood men who want less of a woman. Mercy's cheeks warmed. Those words, his appreciation of her curves, when she'd spent years being told to shrink herself, had been revolutionary in their courtship. I wrote these things, Henry said, not quite a question. Yes, I don't remember feeling them. His admission hung between them. Mercy nodded, the pain familiar now. I understand. But, he added carefully, I can see why I might have. That afternoon, Henry discovered the letters in his office safe, dozens of them, written during their courtship. He'd been old-fashioned that way, putting pen to paper when expressing his deepest feelings. Mercy found him surrounded by them, his expression troubled. I pursued you, he said, holding up a letter. For months. You kept refusing. You were a billionaire. I was suspicious of your motives. What changed your mind? Mercy sat across from him, maintaining the careful distance they'd established. You showed up at my clinic during a measles outbreak, rolled up your sleeves, and helped vaccinate children for 2 days straight. No cameras, no publicity. That doesn't sound like a strategic courtship move, Henry observed. It wasn't strategy. That's why it worked. She smiled faintly. You saw me, my work, my passion, not just my body. And I saw you, not your money or power. Henry studied her face, searching for something. I don't remember loving you, he said finally. but I'm beginning to understand why I did." The words were both balm and blade. Mercy nodded, afraid to speak. "Would you?" Henry hesitated. "Would you tell me how we met? The real story, not the clinical version." For the first time since his collapse, Mercy felt a flicker of hope. The memories might be gone, but perhaps the heart that had chosen her once could choose her again. "I'd like that," she said softly. The storm rolled in without warning, dark clouds swallowing the afternoon sun. By evening, rain lashed against windows and wind howled through the valley. When the power failed, the farmhouse plunged into darkness. "Generator should kick in," Mercy said, reaching for her phone's flashlight. "It won't," Henry replied, surprising her. "I had it scheduled for maintenance this week." He paused, blinking. I remembered that. A small victory, but Mercy's heart leapt. That's good. Procedural memory often returns first. They worked in tandem, Henry instinctively knowing where emergency candles were kept, Mercy lighting them throughout the house. The warm glow transformed the space, shadows dancing across walls lined with their shared history. In the kitchen, Henry stopped before a photograph Mercy had taken in Kenya. Henry kneeling beside a newly installed water pump, surrounded by children. "I remember this project," he said slowly, "but not you being there." "I documented everything," Mercy explained. "It became your company's visual campaign." Thunder crashed overhead. In the momentary silence that followed, Henry asked, "Were we happy?" The question caught Mercy off guard. "Yes," she answered. "Not perfectly. We argued about your work hours, my stubbornness, but fundamentally, deeply happy." Henry nodded, absorbing this. "I found your journal earlier," he admitted. "I didn't read it, but would you mind if I did? Maybe it would help me understand us." Mercy hesitated only briefly before retrieving the leather-bound book from her nightstand. Her private thoughts, her journey from skepticism to love. It felt intimate to share, yet necessary. They settled in the living room, candlelight flickering as rain pounded the roof. Henry opened to the first entry about him, dated 5 years and 3 months ago. "The arrogant billionaire returned," he read aloud, raising an eyebrow at Mercy, who smiled apologetically. "This time with state-of-the-art ultrasound equipment for the clinic. No strings attached, he claims. I don't trust men with money, they always want something. But the children need this equipment." He continued reading, tracing their story through her eyes. Her initial resistance, his persistent pursuit, her gradual realization that his interest went beyond physical attraction. Henry asked why I always wear lab coats 2 sizes too large. He read from an entry months later. When I deflected, he said, "I hope it's not because you're trying to hide. The world has enough invisible women. No man has ever seen through me so clearly." Outside, lightning split the sky. Inside, something shifted between them. Henry turned to an entry from their early dating period. He traced the stretch marks on my hips tonight and called them lightning strikes. Said they were evidence of my body's power to change and grow. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to dim the lights. He looked up, meeting Mercy's eyes across the candlelit room. The clinical distance between them had vanished, replaced by something new. Not memory, but recognition of a different kind. "I wrote you poetry," he said suddenly, "about your body, about how the fullness of your curves matched the fullness of your mind. I remember the feeling behind the words, even if I can't remember writing them." It wasn't his memory returning. It was his heart, recognizing what his mind had forgotten. The headline screamed across Henry's tablet screen. "Billionaire's brain blip. Will Harrington upgrade now that he's forgotten his plus-size wife?" Beneath it, a split image, their wedding photo beside a picture of Henry's ex-girlfriend, a willowy model he dated briefly before meeting Mercy. "Ignore it," Mercy said, reaching to take the tablet, but Henry pulled away, his jaw tightening as he scrolled through the article. Sources close to the agricultural mogul reveal Harrington has no memory of marrying Dr. Mercy, raising questions about whether the amnesia might prompt a reevaluation of his unusual choice in partner. He read aloud, voice hardening with each word. "Industry insiders have long speculated about the unlikely pairing between the billionaire and the full-figure physician. It's just tabloid garbage," Mercy said, though the words stung with familiar pain. She'd heard the whispers, caught the sidelong glances, the unspoken question of what a man like Henry saw in a woman like her. Did this happen often? Henry asked, still scanning the article. This kind of scrutiny. Mercy hesitated. Often enough. And how did I handle it? You threatened to sue the last publication that used the phrase, punching below his weight class, to describe our relationship. A small smile touched her lips at the memory. You said the only weight class that mattered was the heavyweight champion of intelligence, and in that category, I was undisputed. Henry set down the tablet, studying her face. Were you hurt by it? The speculation. The question pierced her practiced armor. Sometimes, she admitted. Not because I doubted your feelings, but because it reminded me how the world sees women like me, as though loving me required explanation. Something dangerous flashed in Henry's eyes, the same expression he wore before dismantling business competitors. He reached for his phone. What are you doing? Mercy asked. Calling my legal team. Henry, don't. These sources close to me are either fabricated or disloyal, he said sharply. And this speculation about my unusual choice. He stopped abruptly, looking genuinely confused. How is it unusual to marry a brilliant doctor who saves lives daily? The simple question, asked by a man who couldn't remember choosing her, brought tears to Mercy's eyes. Besides, Henry continued, his voice softening as he glanced again at their wedding photo, you're beautiful. The words were tentative, as if he was discovering this truth in real time, rather than remembering it. But they were sincere, and in that moment, more powerful than any memory could be. The fundraiser had been Henry's idea, an event for Mercy's Rural Health Initiative, planned despite his ongoing memory issues. Your work matters, he'd said simply when she questioned his timing. Memory or not, I understand that much. Henry took the stage, adjusting the microphone. Good evening. For those experiencing the same confusion I apparently am. Light laughter rippled through the crowd. I'm Henry Harrington. And while recent medical events have left gaps in my personal memories, they've only strengthened my conviction about what matters. His eyes found Mercy in the crowd. The work being done by Dr. Mercy Harrington and her team brings critical care to communities others have forgotten. Tonight, I'm announcing a $20 million endowment to expand rural health services across 5 states. Applause erupted. Mercy's heart swelled with pride. This was Henry, memory or not, using his power to create meaningful change. Then she saw it, the slight disorientation in his eyes, the subtle sway of his posture. Henry, she whispered, already moving toward the stage. He gripped the podium, knuckles widening. I've been told that my wife's dedication to her patients was what first, his voice faltered. What first made me? The microphone crashed against the stage as Henry collapsed. This time, Mercy reached him before he hit the ground, cradling his head as guests gasped and security rushed forward. Get everyone back, she ordered, fingers pressed to his carotid pulse. Henry, can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and panicked. Blood trickled from his nose again, more profusely than before. CT scan now, she instructed the paramedics, who arrived with remarkable speed. Possible intracranial pressure. In the ambulance, Henry regained consciousness, his gaze darting frantically around the confined space before settling on Mercy. Where am I? The fear in his voice was raw. You collapsed during the fundraiser. We're taking you to Memorial Hospital. His hand shot out, gripping hers with surprising strength. Don't leave me. I won't, she promised, heart racing at the desperate plea. But as the emergency room doors opened, Henry's expression changed, confusion replacing fear. He pulled his hand from hers. Who are you? He asked, the words now hauntingly familiar. This time, however, the neurologist's diagnosis was more severe. The MRI shows progressive inflammation, Dr. Abrams explained, pointing to the scan. These episodes are worsening, not improving. What does that mean? Mercy asked, though the doctor and her already understood the implications. Without intervention, the damage could become permanent. Or worse, the unspoken threat hung between them, This wasn't just about losing their shared past anymore. It was about losing Henry's future, perhaps his life. There's an experimental treatment protocol, Dr. Abrams continued cautiously, but the risks are significant. Mercy stared through the observation window at Henry, her husband, now a stranger for the second time in 3 weeks, and felt the weight of an impossible choice. The procedure targets the inflammation using nanotherapy, Dr. Abrams explained, spreading research papers across the conference room table. It's shown promising results in similar cases, but it's experimental, Henry finished, studying the brain scans with analytical precision. Despite his condition, his business acumen remained razor-sharp. What are the success rates? 68% show significant improvement, 22% see minimal change. And the remaining 10%? Mercy asked, already knowing the answer. Dr. Abrams hesitated. Complications ranging from permanent memory loss to cognitive impairment. In rare cases, stroke. Henry nodded, absorbing this with the same calculated assessment he'd apply to business risks. And without treatment, the inflammation will likely continue progressing. Your episodes will increase in frequency and severity. The clinical language couldn't mask the devastating reality. Without intervention, Henry would continue to deteriorate until the man he was disappeared entirely. Later, alone in Henry's hospital room, the sterile silence amplified the impossible choice before them. You should decide, Henry said finally. You're the doctor, and you're the one who knows what I would want. Mercy shook her head. I can't make this decision for you. But you're my wife. A wife you don't remember choosing. Henry's gaze sharpened. That doesn't make you less my wife. The simple statement, acknowledging their bond despite his memory loss, broke something open in Mercy. Tears she'd been suppressing for weeks finally spilled over. Henry reached for her hand, his touch tentative but deliberate. I've been reading my journals every night, he confessed, trying to understand who I was with you. The man in those pages, he was happier than I ever remember being. You were, Mercy whispered. I don't remember loving you, Henry continued, his voice low and intent. But these past weeks, watching you fight for me, seeing your brilliance and compassion, I'm falling for you all over again. Mercy looked up, startled. It's different, he acknowledged. I'm discovering you rather than remembering. But the feeling. He pressed her hand against his chest, where his heart beat steady and strong. The feeling is familiar, like my body remembers what my mind can't. Henry, I want the treatment, he decided. Not just to remember our past, but because I want a future with you, whether I recover those memories or not. The monitor beeped steadily, marking the rhythm of his determination. And if it fails? Mercy asked, medical training forcing her to confront the worst possibility. Henry's smile was gentle but certain. Then we'll make new memories. Better ones. In that moment, Mercy realized the man she loved wasn't lost in the fog of amnesia. He was right here, choosing her again. The treatment room hummed with technology, monitors tracking Henry's vital signs, the nanotherapy delivery system glowing with blue light. Mercy watched through glass as doctors administered the experimental protocol, her fingers pressed against the window as if she could reach through and touch him. The procedure takes approximately 4 hours, Dr. Abrams explained. Then we'll need to keep him sedated for another 12 while the nanobots target the inflammation. 16 hours of suspended breath. 16 hours of prayers whispered by a woman who'd built her life on science rather than faith. Mercy didn't leave the hospital. She reviewed patient files, answered clinic emails, anything to occupy her mind while machines fought to save her husband's memories, to save him. At hour 14, alarms blared. Mercy bolted upright from her uncomfortable doze as medical staff rushed into Henry's room. Blood pressure spiking. A nurse called out, intracranial pressure increasing. Mercy pressed against the observation window, doctor and wife warring within her. What's happening? The inflammation is fighting back, Dr. Abrams said grimly. We need to administer the counteragent now. But the treatment isn't complete, Mercy protested. If we don't stop it, we risk permanent damage. The next 2 hours passed in clinical chaos. Medications administered, specialists consulted, Henry's body battling both illness and cure. When stability finally returned, exhaustion had etched new lines around Dr. Abram's eyes. "We had to terminate the protocol early," he explained. "We won't know the effects until he wakes." Dawn broke over the hospital as Henry's sedation wore off. Mercy sat beside him. Hope and fear tangled so tightly she couldn't separate them. His eyelids fluttered, opened, focused slowly on the ceiling, then turned toward her. Mercy held her breath. "Where am I?" The familiar question, spoken in a hoarse whisper. "Memorial Hospital," she answered, searching his face for any sign of recognition. "You had treatment for your condition." Henry studied her, his expression unreadable. "My condition?" "The amnesia. The episodes." Mercy's voice caught. "Do you know who I am?" He looked at her, really looked, taking in her exhausted eyes, the worry lines between her brows, the fullness of her figure draped in yesterday's rumpled clothes. "You're my doctor," he said finally. The hope that had sustained Mercy for weeks crumbled. She nodded, professional mask sliding into place to hide her devastation. "Yes, I'm Dr. Harrington. I've been overseeing your—" "No," Henry interrupted, reaching for her hand. His touch was different, familiar, intimate. "You're my doctor, but that's not who you are to me." Mercy froze. "You wore blue at our wedding," he continued, his voice strengthening. "You said white wasn't your color, but you were wrong. You were radiant." The first tear fell before Mercy could stop it. Henry, his smile, the one she'd thought lost forever, transformed his face. "Hello, wife." "It came back in fragments," Henry explained as they walked the path around their property, autumn leaves crunching beneath their feet. 6 weeks had passed since the treatment, his recovery progressing with each day, like pieces of a mosaic slowly being restored. Mercy listened, her hand warm in his, still marveling at the miracle of his returned memory. "What came back first?" "Sensory memories," he said thoughtfully. "The sound of your laugh. The way you smell like lavender and antiseptic, doctor and woman in one breath." His smile turned mischievous. "The feel of your curves against me at night." Mercy blushed, still not entirely used to having her husband fully back, the man who'd never been shy about his appreciation for her body. "The neurologists have a theory," Henry continued, stopping beside the small pond they'd built together. "They believe my emotional memory was intact even when my cognitive memory failed. That's why I started falling for you again before I remembered our history." "The heart remembering what the mind forgot," Mercy murmured. "Exactly." Henry turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. The inflammation damaged the neural pathways to specific memories, but not the emotional imprints those memories left behind. "Is that why you kept writing about me in your journal even when you couldn't remember me?" Mercy asked. "Some part of you still recognized me as important?" "The most important," Henry corrected. He reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small velvet box. "Which is why I want to do this again." Inside lay a ring, not her original wedding band, but something new. A sapphire surrounded by diamonds, deep blue like the dress she'd worn at their first wedding. "Henry, we're already married," she reminded him, though her heart raced. "I know." His eyes held hers, filled with a depth of understanding that only their unique journey could create. "But now I have the extraordinary privilege of choosing you twice." He knelt before her, this billionaire who'd lost everything and found it again. "Mercy Joe, will you marry me again, knowing that even amnesia couldn't make me stop loving you?" Their second wedding was smaller than the first. Just close friends and family gathered at the farmhouse as Henry and Mercy exchanged vows beneath an autumn sky. This time, when he promised to cherish her in sickness and in health, the words carried the weight of a battle already fought and won. "Even when I didn't know my own name," Henry whispered as they danced, "my heart recognized its home in you." Some loves transcend memory, defy explanation, and silence judgment. Some connections run deeper than mind, residing in the soul's uncharted territories, where even amnesia cannot reach. If this story touched your heart, Please like and subscribe for more inspiring tales of extraordinary love.